Greetings, everybody. Greetings, everybody. Welcome, man. And I got a special guest with me today. Really happy to have a conversation with this brother. Um, I want to introduce to everybody Mr. William P. Davis, CEO and founder of Euphoria Eats company out of New Orleans. Um, just a pleasure to have you. And without any hesitation, man, let's just get right into it and dive into it, man.
Okay.
Tell me, what is Euphoria Eats company and how did it come to be?
Well, that's a tricky question, but I don't have a issue with answering that question. Well, Euphoria Eats is a company that was founded and started by yours truly. When I got out of the military, I suffered from a PTSD and acute anxiety disorder and a couple other ailments.
Hmm.
So the doctors at the VA only did what they're allowed to do, which was I prescribed me opioids and other forms of a medication.
Right.
But I found myself having issues out of the medication in terms of me feeling too groggy, me not being myself, me not having any personality, just me not
Mm.
being who I am daily.
Right.
So I said, well, man, there has to be a better way because I don't want to feel high like this all day, like I'm just 1,000 pounds, right? So a buddy of mine said, hey, man, you should try cannabis. I'm like, man, I don't smoke weed, I don't smoke dope because
Mm.
at that time that's what it was to me. Because
Right.
as an ex-athlete and as a veteran, we're told don't do drugs, and cannabis was a part of
Absolutely.
that grouping, right?
Right.
So I said, well, man, what else can I possibly do? So I didn't know nothing about cannabis. So I got a suggestion about cannabis. Now, at the time, I was a competition cook, and I did that, and I did a lot
Mm.
of catering. I'm from a catering family. I'm from a catering lineage in Louisiana that's awfully great. So I can honestly say that I have been blessed with a good palate and a good eye for cooking. So I said, well, hey, let me try to mix the cannabis into what I got going on. So at first, I had infused red beans and rice. Everybody like, okay, I've never heard of that before.
Right.
And I was like, nah, well, how can I go and minimize overhead and reach a vast audience, right?
Right.
I said, well, is anybody doing barbecue sauce, hot sauce, anything of that nature right there? I go and do a quick like Google search. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Nothing. Zero,
Nothing.
zilch. I
Wow.
said, well, dang. So nobody's doing it. So why not me?
Right.
And so after that happened, I formed the company Euphoria Eats, and what we are a condiment company based out of Louisiana, and we infuse 13 different condiments, and we have three different TV dinners, all of which contain 250 milligrams of CBD, hemp, or THC,
Mm.
depending on your flavor, and that's how we got started. And we try to go and cater towards the veteran our community because I'm a veteran and I know how hard it was for me to get help with
Right.
me alleviating my daily aches and pains of being
Mm.
in the service, and whether that's like physically or mentally,
Right.
cannabis has helped me transform my whole life and got me back to a somewhat normal. I have a long way to go still, but this has really helped me open up my eyes to self-medicating and the cannabis plant as a whole.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you were thinking about cannabis, was it I want to ask you, I wanted to ask you rather, what made you think of condiments rather than anything else? But you kind of answered the question earlier. You said when you looked at the market, you didn't see anybody doing infused condiments.
Nobody was doing it, and also I have the motto because I'm from a very humble background. So a lot of poor and disadvantaged people are overlooked.
Right.
So I took that as a somewhat a pillar in my life. Everything that's overlooked, you should I focus in on it because everybody's overlooking it. So
Mhm.
let me give you an analogy. How many times have you walked by a quarter on the ground? Probably hardly ever. You pick the quarter up, right?
Right. Absolutely.
But how many times have you walked by a penny and a nickel and a dime and just kept walking? A
Many
lot
times.
of people, right? A lot of people overlook the smaller things in life rather than going after the quarter and the dollar. So
Ooh,
the kind, right,
Jim.
right,
That's a gem.
right. And so the kind of guy that I am, coming from here, like where I come from, I come from hella looking down and looking up, right?
Right.
So I come from that bottom, and I know that it's value in every penny that you pick up because it
Mm,
equals out to $1 depending on
mm.
how many that you pick up.
That's heavy.
So exactly. So I didn't want to. I'm not too high for anything, and I'm not one to overlook a thing. So I pick up every penny that I see on the streets. And that's what kind of made me go with the condiments that everybody else is into, what pins, flour,
Hmm.
oils, drops, and bombs. But nobody's thinking about the common thing that we all have. If I took an Irishman, a
Wow.
racist, a black man, and an Indian and put them all in the same room, they all
Mm.
have one thing in common. They have to eat to survive.
Right.
Right.
Talk about it.
So,
Right.
right. So
And they all
that was
probably
my
might use cannabis too.
exactly. So and that was my rationale. Like, what's the common denominator in every person
Right.
in this world? We have to have food and we have to have water. So if I can
Absolutely.
go and help you infuse all of my condiments with cannabis,
Mm.
which gives you an overall better high, better consumption
That's
rate,
true.
better absorption rate than me smoking it, I might get 10 to 15% of that plant.
Right.
Versus if I eat it, I get upwards of 85% of that plant. So it was a simple math equation there.
Right.
So it was a lot to go and process, and that's how it all started.
Mm. Wow, that's heavy, man. You dropped a lot of gems just now. I should have wrote them down, but I was just trying to absorb them.
It's
But
okay.
talking about the little things, and doing
Yes,
what
sir.
people aren't doing, right? And I think that's why me and you really connected the way we did.
Mhm.
When we met at the Black Cannabis Business Conference in New Orleans back in November, which was a game changer for so many people.
Right.
But I'm the same way, right? When I looked at the cannabis ecosystem, I thought to myself, like you said, everybody's focusing on vapes and pens and flower and dispensary
Right.
ownership and cultivation. And we can't not cultivation because there is no industry without cultivation.
Hmm.
But people are very much so overlooking the education part, right?
Hmm.
People need to be educated on the science behind this plant and how it's medicine and how we use it and how not to use it, right? Me and you have had a conversation in the past about the 30-day cleanse I did.
Hmm.
Is groundbreaking because a lot of people, everybody's talking about how many milligrams to put in and how to maximize the dosage and just how to go to outer space. But very few people are having a conversation about um, how to pull back our cannabis use, how to reset
Yes.
our endocannabinoid system, right? And so,
Hmm.
long story short, I just say you and I are in the same lane in terms of focusing on things that are overlooked in this
Hmm.
space. Everybody needs condiments, right? I mean,
Yes. Yes.
that's just yeah. You just gave the people a lot of game just now. So for all the young people out there trying to understand their lane in this space, really take heed to what Pierre
And
has to
I
say.
and I hate to interject on you, brother, but and they also have to know the overhead it takes for each of those sectors that you just mentioned.
Right,
They're astronomical, and coming from an
astronomical.
impoverished community, we just don't have that generational wealth to invest in ourselves like that.
Right,
So, from a person as like myself, I'm highly educated, few degrees. I still didn't have the wealth to go and say, "Hey, I want a grow operation," or
right,
"Hey, I want this," or "I want that." You have to
right,
know what your capabilities are financially.
right,
And for me, condiments was a no-brainer because I'm good with food.
right.
I'm blessed with knowing what people like to eat, the flavors that they want to eat, and I can go and tell you of just having a conversation with you what kind of a condiment that you would like based on your personality. So
Mm,
and that's all had like God given, bro. And I can't give it up to anybody but him. But a lot of people have to understand our pockets aren't built to just go, hey, I want a grow operation. You can't
right.
get it. A bank won't fund it.
It doesn't
A
work
bank
like
won't
that.
fund it. It takes a lot of money, a lot of capital and real estate to
Absolutely.
go and do these things, but we don't know that. We simply aren't educated enough in the industry to know what we can and cannot do. This industry is still led by old money, not new money.
Mm, interesting. And so I was going to ask you about, was this always a dream of yours, right? As a young William Davis,
No, man, no. The dream of mine, and not to get off on a emotional tip, but a dream of mine was to have the basic necessities in life. Roof, food, clothing. So have to grow up kind of early, have to understand life early, because a lot of people aren't afforded to have a nice home, a nice upbringing. So a part of my early childhood was just surviving in the streets of Houston, Texas.
Right.
So from there, I learned how to have a street mind, but think and dream, right?
Right.
So after I got to college, I met a bunch of my frat brothers. I'm an alpha, by the way. A bunch of my frat brothers and I were just having a conversation about the future and what industries that we thought was going to go and take off.
Right.
Well, with cannabis, we were like, dude, it's kind of like the prohibition of alcohol, but just in our time. It's just for cannabis. I said, man, I'm going to get into that. I don't know how. I know that a bank won't give me a dollar for it, but I'm going to find my way in there.
Right.
And through a lot of prayer and meditation and just effort, you will find your way. You cannot sit home and say, man, I want $1 million.
No.
You got to get up off your behind and go and shake hands and shake trees and make that $1 million happen. So it was just a thing of, right. It was just a thing of knowing what was coming.
Right.
And I think for me to start and building like that wealth for me and my family.
Absolutely. One thing I think is fascinating about this period of time that we're living in is it's just like you said, it really mirrors the times of alcohol prohibition. And Malcolm Gladwell writes a great book called Outliers, where he pretty much tries to lay out the reasons why the titans in the industry are where they are. And one of those factors is the historical time period that you live in.
Right.
And you're absolutely right that historically what we see happening and what has been happening since, you could go all the way back to 96 with Prop 215 in California.
Right.
And then in 2012 with legalization in Colorado, fast forward, wow, that's 10 years ago, 2022, here we are. But the time period that you and I and our generation of adults who are in a position to start businesses and not even adults, you got teenagers, young people who are in a position to take an idea and manifest that into a business or a concept or something that you can monetize is great wealth to be acquired right now.
It is.
Yes. And I can't stress that enough. I'm a Morehouse graduate, so some of my Morehouse brothers who are in the cannabis industry, we're about to spearhead a movement on the Atlanta University Center campus. I want you to be involved too with educating our young people on, I'm talking Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Atlanta, Morris Brown, and just the young people in the local community on just their awareness of cannabis and the science and education behind it, but more importantly, how to gain access to this industry, right? Because people like yourself, you're a pioneer. You're the first to do it. So you don't have you don't have a playbook to go by. And let's talk about that. How does it feel to be a pioneer in an industry that is brand new, that no one has paved the way, given you a roadmap or some kind of insight on the do's, the don'ts, the rights, the wrongs, and so on and forth? How is that as a pioneer in this industry?
It's scary. For one, it's scary because you don't know what may happen to you, because a lot of people think that CBD is THC, and it's not. So especially if you're in an area that it's illegal in, right? So again, I started on my journey 8 years ago. I flew out to Sacramento, California to learn everything there is to know about cannabis. I've grown, I've cultivated, I've dried, I've processed, I've done everything there is to do, hydroponic, aquaponic. I've done it all because I wanted to know about it. So it's lonely. I have to say that, but now that I'm meeting other people that look like me, and other people that have the same want and need and desire as I do, it makes you be more appreciative of them. Now, until I met you in New Orleans, I I did not know any other Black entrepreneurs that were in the cannabis space. Like I had been on the circuit for 3 years, man.
Wow.
And you see some, let's say that I meet you in 2018. In 2019, I will not see you because a lot of people give up.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand that no means yes in this instance. Okay. If anybody says no to you,
wow,
keep driving, keep pushing.
Right.
You will get a yes. Because I've been told no how many millions of times.
Right.
I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs and industry head like leaders in other industries said it won't work. It's not gonna do this, not gonna do that. Now they're calling me,
right,
asking me how do I get in?
Right.
So what I'm saying to you is it's a lonely road, right?
Yes.
But if it was for everybody, everybody would be doing it because it'll be easy.
Absolutely.
And it's not easy. It's not hell for the faint heart. I cannot tell you how many nights I've been up stressing out over my next move. Right. I don't have a budget. I use my own personal money for this.
Right.
I have a family, right? So you have to stress out over the smallest little thing that you're doing to get ahead to the next step, because our society here teaches you to do what? I go to school and work for somebody else. They don't teach you how to work for yourself. And so it's a lonely road, but now that I found out about the cohort at Parallel and about the other avenues now, that now I have other people who are in my corner who have been doing other works in other areas of the US. Now I say, hey, y'all, it's kind of like Captain Planet, right? You bring everybody together and you form this supreme being, or in this case, a supreme business.
Right.
So it's just having to get out there, get uncomfortable, and network and find these people.
Right.
And so now that I found them, now I know it's like a light bulb hit. God is saying, this is what I've been driving you to do for this whole time. This is what I'm going to give you because I've seen all of your hard work. Absolutely. So to answer, I could question at first, it was lonely, it was scary. I thought about giving up 1,000,000 times. Right. But I couldn't because it wouldn't let me give it up. If you have a true passion, it won't let you give it up. It will not let you quit. Yes. Until you make it, or else you won't be able to eat, sleep, or do anything. Trust me.
That's a real gem you just dropped right there. True passion will not let you quit. It will not let you quit. It will always resurface in your life. Right. That's so heavy. And I feel you. I connect with cannabis on a spiritual level as well, man. Like a lot of people say, it's God's plant. This plant does so much more to bring people together and heal people. But I want to back up a minute because there's something else I want to tap into for the listeners out there. Black Cannabis Business Magazine. blackcannabusiness.com.
Right.
CEO intensive program.
Right.
With Parallel.
Right.
Can you tell the people what that is and why it's important?
Yeah, so it's a cohort to bring the cream of the crop, CEOs out of our respective area to a cohort which Parallel is sponsoring. At this a cohort, Parallel, they see the injustice that is happening amongst Black and brown people in this industry. Right. They see that it's very uneven, and they're actually trying to do something about it. They are one of the only MSOs, multi-state operators, that is trying to reach back and make the playing field even and level. So I got contacted by Mr. Todd Hughes and Brandon Wyatt. Amazing brothers.
Shout out to Todd and Brandon.
Yeah, man. And I mean, and they pretty much, and they pick your brain and make you think about things that you don't even think about on the daily. Right. They push you beyond what you have pushed yourself. Absolutely. They have made me a bad effort in this industry now, because now I know how to hone all of my skills and how to go at it full throttle from an analytical perspective, and just having the right connections. This industry is about connections. Yes. You can have the best product in the world. Access. If you don't have access and the connections, you're going to be spinning your tires. That's why I say make yourself uncomfortable. If you've never been to Atlanta, how I had never been to Atlanta, and I just hear about a show, I'm there. Yes.
You got to
You
show up,
have to,
man.
yes, you have to get out of your comfort zone and
You
be
got to show up.
uncomfortable.
You got to show
So
up.
so those pair of Air Jordans that you wanted, are they really worth it, or can you go out of town for buying
Absolutely.
those to make yourself some money?
Absolutely.
And
I
so
could I couldn't agree with you more.
I'm sorry. So and what Parallel is doing is they're equaling out the playing field, and they are giving us the resources that we would have never had.
Mm,
Like I would have been able to like make those our connections maybe in 10 years,
mm,
and I've been at it for 8 years already. So
wow.
when I told you I have not found nobody in this industry that had my best interest at heart, it's
Right.
not, because the only people I meet is people with, hey, I want to buy your company.
Right.
It's not for sale.
Right.
And so and so it's just like they are really doing an amazing job with equality, with
Mm,
making the playing field a level. And a big shout out to Sam Schwartz.
mm,
This guy here is amazing. He's one of the industry hella leaders at Parallel.
okay.
And him, Todd, and Brandon, and the other people who have been on our class have blown the doors off, giving us so much information, like
Mm,
a lot of information that you could not buy this information.
right.
And so it's just one of those kind of things that they brought us all together, and now we're actually making big leaps and bounds in a matter of weeks than it would have took us years.
Wow, that's
So a
powerful.
big shout out to Parallel, a big shout out to Black Cannabis magazine, a big shout out to Todd and Brandon. Man, thank you guys. I'm forever in debt.
Yes. Yeah, they're doing some powerful work. Um, you know, can't say enough about those brothers. And when you talk about inequality in the
Mhm.
space, I tell people all the time, I don't think that the cannabis industry is governed by these old racist white men who want to just keep us out of the game, right? I
Mhm.
think it's a couple of puppet masters in the mix for sure
Mhm.
that are working from that paradigm. But in my first time at a real cannabis conference was MJ Biz back in 2015. And so, like you, I've been around in the mix for about 7 years, right?
Right.
And I think there are people out there who are more willing to help us than hurt us.
Mhm.
However, we can't wait on this um, diversity, equity, inclusion
Right.
conversation and certificate to go
Mhm.
out here and get it and get after it, right? And that's what I'm a huge proponent of. And what we're
Mhm.
about to be blasting off on Morehouse, Spelman, Clark, Morris Brown
Right.
campus
Right.
is getting these students together to form this coalition to get the education they need, but also provide them a space to get access to the people they need to know at the end of the
Right.
day, right? It's not
Right.
like they say, it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you, right?
Right.
And
Yeah, exactly.
and that's just how it goes at the end of the day. But one of my philosophies is we can't have participation. I'm sorry, we can't have representation without participation, right?
Of course
You
you can.
got to show
Yeah.
up. You got to get in the
Mhm.
game. We can't sit around and complain that we don't own enough dispensaries and there aren't enough owners and this, that, and the other. No, but from your story, like you're telling, it might take you some years to
Yeah.
break through and to make it
Mhm.
happen. But like you said, though, a passion never dies, right?
Nah.
A
It it,
passion
it it
never dies.
it will keep you up at night. Trust me.
Oh, it's kept me up many a nights, for
Mhm.
sure, for sure. And so that's just deep. So let me ask you this: you said Euphoria Eats company is not for sale, right? So
Not as a whole, no, sir.
right, not as a whole. So
Right.
what do you see in the future for Euphoria Eats, where time flies. So we're in 2022. We're looking down the road. It's been 8 years.
Mhm.
What's the next 8 years look like? We're talking 2030.
Our partnerships. We plan on making a bridge for others behind us.
Hmm.
So when I go and build
Yes,
a
talk about it,
partnership,
brother.
yeah. So when I go in and build a partnership with a license holder, let's say in New York City, for instance, here, when I go and build that relationship, I also open up the door for anybody behind me that's trying to do the same thing. I'm not gonna bend you over the fence post. I'm going to actually do right by you because I want you to succeed. There's enough money for everybody out here. I don't want it all because if I have it all, what do you have? So,
Mm.
and the thing about that
Oh.
is building these key strategic
Mm.
relationships with these big MSOs.
Right.
So when you do have another a producer, let's say in the future, it might be infused earbuds of some sort,
Right.
I would
Yeah, that's
have a
coming.
door, right. I would have a door for you to go through instead of you having to go and meet the man at the bottom who says who has all this access, who's going to go and charge you a consulting fee of $5,000 per month for 3 months. That happened to me, and they
Ooh.
get nothing done. They
Mm.
get nothing done.
Mm.
And there's a lot of people out here that
Mm-hmm.
offer consulting fees and they don't even know the information. They talk to you on the phone and make you pay them $80 an hour. They talk
Yeah.
to you on the phone, find out your questions. Hey, let's meet again in a week.
Right.
So in a period of a week, it gives them
Right.
enough time to go find out the information that you need to know. There was a simple Google search, right?
Right.
So
Right. Right.
here I come in. I've been
Right.
I've been through this is meat grinder already. I'm going to
Yeah.
take you straight to the horse's mouth, not give you a bunch of a malarkey and chewing the fat. I'm just going to tell you how it is. I mean, so and that's what I have to offer. Anybody that's behind me, you're gonna get the truth. You're gonna get the honesty
Right.
because as you get older in life, you change who you are to be the better human being, right?
Mm.
And you give it all up to the man or woman that's upstairs, God, and you
Yes.
say, "Thankful, I am thankful, God, for you putting me here, giving me this information and this knowledge. I should not have to go out here and rob and pillage people and lie to them. I'm gonna give them the truth about the
Right.
industry and give
Right.
them insight and put them where they need to be.
Absolutely.
And that's where I want to be. I want to be an industry leader in
Absolutely.
food as a whole, but I want to be an industry leader as being an advocate for veterans and those who are underprivileged and
Right.
left out.
Right.
So I'm going to sell a portion of my company, but it has to be the right kind of deal.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is I would go and sell my whole operation to like a Heinz or Hunts or whomever it may come along, but I have to own a minority interest into my company because I need that wealth for my family. I
Right.
built this from the ground up out of a mason jar.
Right.
I deserve to have my name attached to every single bottle.
For a lifetime. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Legacy. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, that's heavy, man. I mean, you know, one thing I think people who are watching and listening to this is you talk about God
Yes.
moving in your life, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
I feel like we can't leave that out of the conversation, because I feel like one thing that has been so stigmatized in our community um, is some, and I think one thing that holds us back in our community is we have an elderly generation that looks at this plant from a criminal perspective, and until now, and honestly, some not yet are even encouraging us to be in this space, right?
Right.
And but it's funny how God works.
Mhm.
And tell me about just your journey going back to your childhood. That what gave you the strength to just overcome all those obstacles that led you to this point to where you at right now?
Man, you about to make me cry, dude. But when I look back at my life, it's something of a movie. You don't you see this kind of stuff like you saw the movie like Precious, right? Everybody saw that movie, but it's a million more stories that's worse than that you'll never hear about, right?
Mm, mm,
My story is a story of surviving. I will do whatever is going to take to survive. That's how I
mm.
was raised. That's how I was like brought up. That's how I will forever be. But let me tell you how God works out, brother. I remember I was in sixth grade. I got expelled from a school in Houston, Texas, because I had a gun. at school. This was around the time that you didn't know nothing about guns and a
Sixth
kid.
grade,
Sixth
strapped,
grade, brother, bro, strapped.
strapped.
Had like gold teeth in my mouth and everything, man.
Talk about it.
Like I believed who I was then, not knowing this is not you. You're not this person. You have to be a lion when you're in the jungle, or else you'll get ate up. So you had to adapt and be like those that are there with you.
Yes, indeed.
So what God did was He showed me that, man, there's ways around this. Through all the hurt, through all the pain, through all the letdown, abuse, etc. He was still there. He told me it's gonna be okay. Are you hungry? It's gonna be okay. In the morning, it's school, right? And you'll get to eat at school. So God has helped me. He's been in my subconscious my whole life. But it's just a lot of us ignore God because He's not here in the physical, right? We ignore that a voice in our head and say, "Hey, it's gonna be all right." So what I did was, when I was a kid, I had a severe stutter. So nobody wanted to play with me. I was extremely like dirty. I was the dirty kid, but they didn't know it wasn't by choice. It was just by my situation, right?
Right.
So I had to learn to play with myself and talk to myself, and nobody else wanted to do so. So I started talking to God, man. And honestly, that's the only way I got out of Houston, Texas, man. It's through God. I can't explain it to you. I've been told I should write a book, but bro, it's a lot to put in a book.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of adult stuff happening to a child, and the only way I got through it is through my spirituality. So I'm the kind of person to whereas I know that God does exist, but prayer without action is just words, man.
Whew. You're preaching now, Pierre. Come on now.
But hey, man, look, but I'm giving it to you straight dope, brother.
Up. Yeah.
So it's just like, so we have that elder in our family. God is gonna make this happen, blah 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 blah. Well, you got to get up and make something happen, though. He ain't just gonna hand it to you. You got to get up and make things happen that's gonna affect your outcome in your life. So that's how He's helped me. There have been times in my life that I did not believe in God. When I was in the war and I saw all the atrocities of war, I said, well, how can God let this happen? But as we recall, you got to have faith in Him. He does everything for a reason. God sent me over there to that war to change me, to make me a better person, to make me a better Black man, to make me a better brother to you and to any neighbor that I might see. And so my belief in God is strong, brother, strong and true. Wow. I believe in Him wholeheartedly. I'm not a practicer of going to church. I believe everybody has their own personal relationship with the good Lord. And in my opinion, I shouldn't have to go through an intermediary to get a rightful understanding of Him. I have a master's degree. I'm college educated. I can go and comprehend as well. But I can go to God and tell Him or her what my problems are, and they will lead you through it. God will lead you through it.
Absolutely. Man, listen, Mr. Davis, CEO and founder of Euphoria Eats company.
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank you for your time on this interview. I think, what better way to end it than that, right? I think everyone is thankful that God has brought this plant into our life, right?
Yes.
For the past however many thousands of years, we've been using this plant, and I think I'd love to have you back on, and we can do maybe a series of interviews, because there are a couple of things we didn't get a chance to get into that next time I'd love to take a dive on, maybe like the science behind how do you infuse, how do you infuse a condiment, right? Like, how does that even work, right? And so,
right.
Matter of fact, if you have time, can you just
just
give us a little. Just give us a little nugget on that, because
I give you a little crumb, crumb.
Right. Just give us a little, just wet my beak a little bit.
Okay, gotcha. So you first must understand at the cannabis plant, you must understand the burn rate. What the burn rate is how hot can you get this flower without the medical, excuse me, I can't say hella medical, without the properties of the plant are dissolving or dissipating, right?
Right.
So once you understand that, you understand how you want to go and infuse it. So if I'm going to bake something, I know I can't go and infuse a cake at 350. No,
Right.
it's not going to work.
Right.
So it's just knowing when to add the cannabis to whatever that you're infusing. That's the science of it. Okay.
Okay.
Then you also have to know, how do I get the bitterness out of the cannabis? How do I get all the earthiness out of the cannabis?
Right.
Or what am I going to use to get the best quality cannabis? That's the main thing. Better quality, distilled, isolate, or distillate, or powder, however that you want it. Just make sure that you know what flavor hides what flavor.
Got you.
And
Got
so
you.
it took me about, I want to say about a day or so to do all my condiments, like all 13 of them,
Wow.
because I'm always in the kitchen. Like I'm a taster, man. Like
You're
I
already
have to
living in
taste
the
it.
kitchen already.
Yeah, yeah, right. So
Got you.
for me, it was easy, but to the average person, don't be discouraged about it. Keep swinging. Keep
Right.
swinging at it.
Right.
If you have a blow pop that you want to use, keep making blow pops.
Right.
You're gonna hit a home run. You just got to keep
Eventually.
doing it.
Right. Eventually.
Take critical notes as to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You need that documentation. Okay, you have to have that in order to know what not to do the next time.
Right. Right.
So it's all in being organized, being straight to the point,
Right.
not caring about how long it takes you to go and perfect something. Because I said that you had a condiment, right? And you come out with a condiment. I'm not worried about this man and his condiment because I know that mine is good. I know
Right.
it's damn good.
Right.
And I know it can stand up to anybody else's.
Right.
So it's all in having the confidence in what you're doing, knowing what you're doing. And like you said earlier, I want this to be a whole little class about infusions. I really have a lot of stuff
Yeah.
I give these people, and it's for free, y'all.
Yeah. Whew, I'm telling you, you know, they say not knowledge is free. I don't say knowledge is power because, like you said, just knowledge is like prayer. Without action, there's
Right,
nothing. Right.
right.
And so, um, wow, that man, listen, that's what we're gonna do. Uh,
Okay.
we're gonna follow up with some really, really cool content on infusion and what that process is like. We're gonna take a dive on the burn rate. I didn't want to keep you too long, but
It's okay.
I was with you 100% because we I didn't even get a chance to tap into the fact that when we're using our cannabis, even when I'm a smoker, right? I like the flower, but I
Right.
have to admit that I'm overheating the cannabis. I'm not even getting the most out of my cannabis
Yes,
because
you
I'm
are, my friend.
because I'm lighting it on fire, right? And so a
Right.
lot of people don't even understand that in terms of the
Mm-mm.
temperatures that it takes to actually change those acid form cannabinoids or whatever the properties are into what we need as medicine. That's what we're going to discuss next. But listen, Mr. Davis, CEO of Euphoria Eats Company, man, I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining us. I promise we're gonna wrap up this time for real.
Oh man,
I have a
it's
way of
okay.
going on and on and on.
Hey, look, it's okay, but I had to like chime in on something that I think as the viewers need to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
The word ignorance is not a bad word. Only in our community is it bad. But the word
Mhm.
ignorance means we simply don't know something,
Right,
right?
right,
But you know how like grandma and them is. If you call somebody ignorant, that's a bad word, right?
right.
So I'm saying that to say we simply don't know. We are simply ignorant to what this plant can do because nobody has taught us the right way.
Right,
So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be
right.
afraid to go do your own research. Don't be afraid to email me, email you. We
Yeah,
have to figure this out. And I will tell you, I don't have a
absolutely.
problem with doing so.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, and this is my fault. People want to email you. They want to talk to you. They watch this
Mhm.
interview. They're like, man, this brother is sharp. I want to know more. I want to buy condiments. I want barbecue sauce. I want
Okay.
TV dinners. How do the people get in touch with you personally, and how do they buy your
Mhm.
product?
Well, if you want to find me on a personal level, my name is Pierre Davis. I'm on Instagram, on Facebook. on all the other social medias. My email is pdavis@Euphoria Eats Co. one word .com. My website is www.euphoriaeats.com, and you can buy all of my tasty items, my hot sauces, and my 2 barbecue sauces, which are over this shoulder right here. But I mean, guys, this is the wave of the future. Get on now,
Yes,
get
indeed.
get in here knee deep, and you're gonna be just fine. You have other people like me and this guy right here. We're gonna take care of you.
Absolutely. Like you said, man, um, there is no roadmap, and there was nobody to show us the way, but we
Right.
can certainly show others the way,
Mhm.
100%. So listen, my brother, thank you for joining us today. This was such a great interview, very informative. We have to really tap in on the science on the next one. But
Okay.
until then, Mr. Davis, man, you have a wonderful day, and we're gonna catch up soon.
God bless you, and God bless y'all, man. And thank you, brother.
Man, thank you, man. God bless you, Pierre. I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, anytime.